Okay, so, as I prayed about what I wanted to share today, this is not a normal week because of the timing of everything. I felt like this will sound weird, but who are you to tell them how to be a mother? No, a little more gentle than that, but. And as I prayed more about it, I thought there's a couple people I'd like to have come up and share a little bit, just 2 minutes. And if that's okay with you, Kenneth. Yeah? Okay. Ginny's here, right? Come on, Ginny. You get to go first. No, my best friend's going to come up last, but yeah. I guess they want you to use that one, if that's okay. And I'll get out of your way.
Is there a question?
Oh, you want a question?
Or okay, you just want me to share? Or
I want you to share whatever you felt like the Lord, gave you on an encouragement to the moms.
okay.
We did think about this before we did it,
Thank you for inviting me here. Wow, I have a lot of thoughts about what to say to all the women in this room and all the moms. Being a mom is an extremely challenging, but it's a very blessed opportunity. And I think that a lot of us go into the expectation of motherhood with a lot of thoughts and desires of what it should look like. But God's going to throw that all out the window because nothing is what it seems like it's supposed to be. But God is saying that rely on me and on my grace and on my provision. And in my time, I will provide you with all the needs in your life and in this season. And my grace is sufficient for your weakness, and my power made perfect, I think, in your weakness, actually. And so if you are a mom, or if you want to be a mom, God has the perfect plan for you. And just trust in him and rely on him and just seek him for wisdom and know that he is good and he is loving and he will teach you how to love through this season and through this journey.
Great. Perfect. All right, our next speaker is Wanda. Yeah. Thanks, Wanda.
Great job, Jenny. Hi, my name is Wanda, and I am here to share something that has been working in me, and also, being a mom and the journey, but also being a parent and an auntie and a friend. One of the things that God has been really working through me is telling me that patience is not optional. And so coming into parenthood and even being an auntie, right? Even if you're a friend or if you have little nieces or, family friends or any kids that you encounter in class or even at the supermarket, right? Patience is not an option. And so one of the things that, we have a crazy house. We have 3 kids, so they're all 2 years apart, so you can imagine they're all really little. But for us, we always have to remind ourselves that in order for us to have patience, we have to remind ourselves that perception is everything. And so a lot of the times that, there's situations and then you're looking at it and you're like, okay, what's the quick fix? Let's move. Let's keep moving, right? But what we want to continue to do and remind ourselves is that we're not parenting the way that we want to parent. We want to parent the way that God wants us to parent and how we see the children. And so one of the situations that happened at our house recently, my 2-year-old at the time, she had a hairbrush and she ran over to my 4-year-old and, she hit her head with the hairbrush. And then, the first thing, and it wasn't any of our family, so I'm not going to call you all out, okay? Somebody was at our house and she's like, oh, she's hitting her. Oh, she needs a timeout, right? So my 2-year-old, she's just crying and everyone's crying. And so in that moment, I'm like, that's weird. Why would she hit her, right? So then a couple hours later, I had a chance to talk to my 2-year-old, and I was like, oh, why did you hit her? And she's like, Mommy, I didn't hit her. I brushed her hair. And so even things like that, I was like, wow, she just got a timeout for no reason, you know? And then this is what I'm talking about with, perception, right? Because really perception shapes the way that we respond to these children, that are in our house, that are in our friend's house, right? Or even at the supermarket, right? And so God just continues to remind, me and my other half and all the grandparents in the house, right, is that it's not always what it seems, and so really continuing to pray for, like, God, what are you trying to show me in this moment? God, like, who is this child to you? How can we really shape them to glorify you? Is something that is continually, on the top of our heads. So patience is not an option. Okay.
Yeah. I just want to tap into something that she said. Love is patient, right? That was the text the Lord gave me for today. So you're right on in terms of that. Yeah. Yeah. Now, my favorite person in the world, other than Jesus, is my wife. So she's going to come in her white outfit.
Whatever.
Yeah. Patience.
I want to share something that I did not figure out as a mom till my daughter was entering high school. But let me also say, this is something that fathers and aunties and family friends and school teachers and youth group leaders can also benefit from. And that is, figure out the difference between who your child is and who you want them to be. When our kids are born, we naturally begin to compare them. And I don't even mean in the like, oh, well, she was 8 months old when she walked and he wasn't, walking till he was a year, or not that kind of stuff. I just mean it's natural to go, oh my goodness, doesn't she look like your mom? And, it's just natural. You compare because you're figuring out who they are. And we tend to start to sort of label them by what seems to be their personalities. Oh, she's rambunctious. Where did that come from? Oh, that comes from her grandfather. He was just really wild. Stuff like that. My daughter had very similar interests to me right from the start. She loved dance and music and singing and acting. And so I was able to start participating with her in that stuff, right from when she was a little girl. And it was very fun. The problem is, looking back now, I realize I confused having similar interests with being similar people. So if you'd asked me when she was, 10, I would have said, oh, my daughter's so much like me. Fast forward to high school, she goes to a directed study program, which means part of it's on campus, part of it's at home. But the main difference in directed study is it's done the way you would do college, whereas they give you a syllabus in the beginning of the semester and you follow that syllabus. You do not have a teacher saying, now remember, your project is due Thursday. Okay, kids, don't forget you have a test Friday. You have to pay attention to that syllabus. You have to learn it. Now, they give you some grace in the beginning, but all right. I'm a very analytical person. I make to-do lists. I'm pretty logical. So when we start this program, and the first time my daughter is going to bed, and 15 minutes before she realizes she didn't do her math, I'm like, what the heck? What were you doing in your room? I was doing my history. When is your history due? Friday. Today is Tuesday. Your math is due Wednesday. Why didn't you do your math Wednesday? And that's how I would talk to her. Because honestly, that's how I expect people to talk to me. If I do something wrong, if I don't do it the way you want it, if I don't do it correctly, just tell me. Just tell me what you want done and I'll do it. My daughter, I learned, you talk to her like that, she shuts down. Because your little criticism that you didn't do what I thought was logical turns into a giant rejection. So that was my first clue. The second thing that I realized is her brain functions differently than mine. If you give me a bunch of photographs and you tell me to put them up on a board, I'm gonna organize them, and they're probably gonna be this one, the 5x7 and the 5x7 and the this and the this and the that. You give them to her, she gets all artsy fartsy and she's like putting them at angles, and this one's poking off a little bit. That is her brain. She's a little artist. It wasn't until she started high school that I realized she is so different than me. The way she hears things, the way she reacts to things, and those things that I was assuming that she didn't do because she was being lazy or ignoring me, no, she didn't even think of doing it that way. I had to sit down and teach her, this is how you schedule. Now, she's taught me things too, but I won't go into that. The point is, I wish I'd known that about her when she was like 3. I wish somebody had said to me, you realize your daughter isn't you or your husband, and your daughter isn't who you want her to be. Your daughter is who God made her to be. Heaven forbid he did not give her a gift in math. What if she just doesn't do well with math? She doesn't get it, or she doesn't like it, or whatever. Granted, you just have to push through on some things. You have to get through school. You have to do math. You have to do handwriting. You have to do all those things that you don't like. But figure out the things that God has placed in your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, your daughter, your whatever, that God wants her to excel in, that God wants her to blossom in. And if it's not something that you think is important, then ask God to change your heart. Because he made her that way for a reason. And heaven forbid we parents should squash that. That's it.
Well, you're going to have to pay extra because you've already got 3 or 4 sermons, right? So, yeah. Are you guys hanging with us? Okay, so I just want to say a couple more things. Kate, you hanging with this? Good. I want to hit on a couple do we have the text, my text, 1 Corinthians 13. Could you move down to verse 4? Verse 4, I can't see it that small, but. Oh, behind me. Oh, there, much bigger, much bigger. If I had just known. Yeah, I need a mirror like I could do this. Yeah. I want to focus on a couple of love is, because what I felt like as I was meditating upon this and getting ready for this week, I felt like God said, these love is. What it's saying is, love is, it's the embodiment. The embodiment. Love is patient. Anybody ever have a problem with being patient? Yeah, all of us do. We just have shorter fuses or longer fuses in particular areas. But love is patient. You know why we need to have love as patient? I'm not just talking about mothers now. I'm talking to all of us. Love is patient. You know why? Because Ryan needs me to be patient. Kenneth needs me to be patient. Kat needs me to be patient. Because we're all kind of in this place where no matter whether we've been a Christian for 2 weeks or 50 years or whatever it is. We need people around us that are going to be patient, and that brings out the very best in us. See, I can look at our church here and say, well, this isn't right or that's different. I would do it differently than this, and probably have reasons for that. But it's not all that helpful. What's helpful is us being surrounded by people that care for us, love us, accept us as we are. Aren't those precious people? When you feel like you have a person that accepts you for who you are and is patient with you. The reason why he needs to be patient or she needs to be patient is because they're in process. Right? Are you in process? Anybody feel perfected yet? I've had people over the years tell me that somehow they had reached this new stage, this new blessing, this new whatever, and then I started to hang around with them. Not so much. Woo. That was a point of emphasis by God. No. Love is patient. And then a similar one is love is kind. You know why we need love is kind? Because every single person in this room is fragile. Even the ones that outwardly project, nothing bothers me. I'm, hard. I'm tough. I'm this, I'm that. No. If you get them in a private moment, you realize they're fragile. They need kindness, patience, kindness. He's saying these are major elements of what it means to love people. And moms, of course, need this, 10 times over, right? Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. Kind of what Cheryl was talking about, right? Does not envy. What we don't want to set up in the church, in our marriages, in our parenting, we don't want to set up at all this sort of competition. My church is better than your church because of X, Y, Z. It usually has to do with numbers of some sort or another. That's not what God wants. God wants a group, large, small, that loves each other. That's the primary command. Remember, I told you, those of you who've been around me a while, my hope is in my 80s, I'm going to be able to be wheeled up here or carted up, I don't know which one, and have one message. You know what that message would be? If you've listened, you do. We love one another. Another way to put it is, how is God going to judge our churches? And I don't mean he's going to judge our churches, like condemn our churches. I don't mean that at all. He's going to look at how did they do. I put this, do you think God has a hand in who's here right now? Hello? Do you think God has a hand in who you are as a church, the composition of your church? Now, what he's saying to us is, Lance, I've put you with Kenneth for right now, and I want you to love Kenneth. It's easy to love in abstract and, in big, but especially if somebody's doing something you don't like or don't exactly agree with or whatever, a lot of that stuff in the end won't matter at all. VOH didn't do exactly what Lance said. What does that mean? Who cares? Who cares? Was Lance a good person? Was Lance someone who loved people? Was Lance somebody who was patient and kind? And a number of months ago, Kenneth wrote me a letter, and he said, when I'm with you, I feel warmth, the warmth warmth of the Lord. I don't know if you even remember saying that, but it was impactful to me. What do you get, if you want to put it in a crude way, from the people around you? What I want to get is people go, oh, Lance, when he's around, he's fun to be with. He's warm. He's loving. Whether these are easy people to be loving to or hard people to be loving to, our job is not to judge. Our job is to love. So when people are coming our way, and all sorts of different kinds of people are coming our way right now, what are you doing with them? Do you accept them, first of all? Well, they're not very mature Christian. Well, you aren't either. I've given up the idea of I'm a mature person. I want to be a person that's genuine and authentic and real about who they are. And I want to be a person in the end that gives off love. Gives off love. Love is patient, kind, does not envy, does not boast, does not boast. Do you ever look at the Christian magazines? I don't anymore, but do you ever look at the Christian magazines? It's generally one giant boast. Usually having to do with numbers or supposedly international impact. Do you think God might see that differently? How about, do you accept people for who they are? Here's a good one. Not easily angered. I would like that to be said of me. He's not easily fazed, does not respond with anger. But he loves whoever God brings into his life. So a couple months ago, Ryan and I met at a little place in Glendora where I live now, and met the barista, and he actually is the owner of the place, and we started to talk. Well, then 2 days ago, I went back there and met another friend, and we ended up having this huge conversation. It turns out his childhood was almost exactly my childhood. Like, he was a surfer, I was a surfer. He knew the spots on the map, and we had a great time just talking about it. And then my friend came, and he entered into the conversation. And see, in the end, this is about people. And in the end, this is about loving the people that God gives to you. If you're growing in that, you're growing as a Christian. You're growing as a disciple of Christ. It's nothing else, and it's not more complicated than that. Cheryl says of me often, and I guess I'm boasting now, but Cheryl says of me often, you can talk to anybody. And it's true. God has given me a gift to engage with people and time to lead people to Christ. But it all flows out of this. What kind of person are you projecting, and are you touching them with? I'll tell you the first thing I thought when I came here. This is a place that's really warm. So the very words that you used of me, I found and Cheryl found with you guys. And it was sweet because we were, finishing our time at Anaheim and when we came here. And you guys took us in. Thank you. They even had a banquet. And we got to go to a big banquet together. It was a lot of fun. So all I'm saying is, when this is all said and done, moms is about being a lover. Dads is about being a lover. Everything is about you learning to love, you learning to care for people, you learning to receive whoever God brings into your path. And I think that's all I'm going to say today. Love you guys.